We thought Ricky Collins is going to be the starter at Syracuse this year, and maybe he will be, but not so fast, my friends, because the Syracuse Orange are hosting a big-name quarterback.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. On this loaded episode, we'll talk about this trend of, and it seems to be working for a lot of players. Not everybody, didn't work for Nico, but using the transfer portal as leverage to renegotiate NIL deals. We'll talk about a possible destination for Trevor Pena, a really good visit with Penn State this week, over the weekend, I should say. Let's talk about some high-profile quarterbacks, though, Kenton, visiting ACC schools. I want to start first with Steve Angeli, former Notre Dame Fighting Irish quarterback, was backup last year to Riley Leonard, and he was in a competitive battle for the starting job at Notre Dame. Apparently, C.J. Carr had the edge in that competition. Angeli, who I like, decided to go into the transfer portal, and Steve Angeli on Monday took a visit to Syracuse. There's a lot to unpack here, Kenton, because Syracuse did name a starter, Fran Brown did, coming out of spring football, and that's LSU transfer Ricky Collins. But Angeli, who's never been a full-time starter, but he does have more experience, showed a lot with the Fighting Irish. I think if Syracuse can get this over the finish line, Angeli, to me, looks like an upgrade over what they have.
You know, I think this is so interesting because Steve Angeli, if you talk to Notre Dame fans, the Steve Angeli lobby was strong last year. It was extremely strong. There was folks who were like, oh, I don't know why we're paying Riley Leonard this money. We've got Angeli in the cut. He's the better guy and all that good stuff. I'm looking at it like this. Steve Angeli is a guy that you could argue the potential is there. We just haven't seen it full time. The one drive that he got in against Penn State, he drove Notre Dame right down the field for a touchdown right before halftime. Many people say that was the drive that got Notre Dame going to win that football game. Because up until that point, Notre Dame trailed. And actually, I believe they still trailed after that touchdown. So it was a situation where, you know, this is a young man who showed, hey, I'm capable. I can do it. I don't know why more folks wouldn't want to kick the tires there. I'm not sure. If you don't trust your quarterback situation at all, I'd say, hey, let's give him a shout. Let's give him a look. Let's see how it works out.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, because both guys were not, starters at their previous stop. So for what it's worth, here's the stat comparison between Steve Angeli and Ricky Collins. Like, Collins has barely played. In 2024, went 5 for 5 for 35 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. 2023 went 2 for 2, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I guess you could say, to Ricky Collins' credit, he's a 100% career passer, Kenton.
The ball don't hit the ground. The ball don't hit the ground or defenders.
Never hits the ground, and no interceptions either. So it's always going into the hands of. So 7 for 7, he is 100%. Steve Angeli is not, but he's got a lot more career attempts. Angeli in 2024, this past season, including some good work in relief. Well, when Riley Leonard was temporarily hurt, did well in that playoff game. 24 for 36 this season. 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The previous year in 2023, 77% completions on 34 of 44, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. So there's a lot more experience there for Angeli. And Steve Angeli has connections to the coaching staff at Syracuse, Kenton, which would make sense why he would even make this visit out of familiarity, a high school connection for him. So Angeli played at a powerhouse high school in New Jersey, Bergen Catholic. And the head coach at Bergen right before Angeli got there was Nunzio Campanile. A lot of Italians involved in this recruitment, which I love, from Angeli to Nunzio Campanile. And then after Campanile left, after he left Bergen Catholic, his brother Vito, which is a great Italian name, took over for him, and Vito Campanile coached Steve Angeli there. So he's got a connection to the quarterback's coach at Syracuse and the whole family. So there's that familiarity there, which, we could make this a soft landing spot if Angeli ends up at Syracuse. And I'll bring this back to Fran Brown, Kenton, because again, Fran Brown was talking a lot about why Trevor Pena left Syracuse, who was kind of downplaying the idea that, hey, maybe he's not that comfortable with his quarterback, who at the time was Ricky Collins. I guess maybe Fran Brown realizes there might be a better option out there than Collins.
But this is why Fran Brown said what he said, and this is why I agree with him in terms of it's not your job to worry about that. While I understand your worry, I agree with you last week when you said a wide receiver should be worried. I said, yeah, to some extent. But also, you're not the head coach. You're not the guy that signs the checks. You're not the guy that approves the NIL. You're not the guy that reaches out to people in the portal. That is not your job. Your job, run the best route you can, get open the best you can, catch the ball the best you can. The minute that you get away from the main thing being the main thing, that's when you start to get in trouble. So I understand both sides of the argument. I understand Trevor Pena is a slot receiver. There is a lot of things that go into it, but as a Lions fan, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think is one of the top 5 receivers in the game. He probably will never be paid like it because he is a slot receiver. That is just the reality of this ball game. So I get what Trevor Payne is trying to do, maximize his earning potential, not just via NIL, but also saying, I need a quarterback that can show me as valuable to these teams. But again, that's not the main thing for you, brother. I get it. Yeah. You're in that last year. You got to get that last check if there's anything available. If that Nico, knock on wood, we hope you stay healthy and fine. I get it. I understand it. I'm just saying I see both sides.
Yeah. You raise a great point. But going back to the Angeli side of it, if I'm looking at this from Steve Angeli's point of view, though, I mean, quarterbacks coach is a guy I'm familiar with there at Syracuse, but man, they've lost a lot of weapons from last year. I mean, you think about people headed to the NFL. I'm assuming Trevor Pena is not going to come back to Syracuse, although we see it happen sometimes. Players hit the portal, they come back to the same school. So maybe, and they're both from New Jersey. So maybe Angeli's on the phone. Hey, Trevor, we're from the Garden State. Come on back to Syracuse and play with me, man, because there's not a whole lot left there in terms of pass catchers.
I think the tough part about it is some of the words that were said, you kind of can't take them back. Yeah. That's the tough part about that situation. As much as Fran Brown is a straight shooter and he's going to tell it like it is and all that, sometimes you don't need to tell it. There's nothing wrong with telling it like it is, but there are certain moments where it's like, not telling it, perfectly fine. Because now, if you're Trevor Pena, how do you come back? Let's say you love Angeli. Let's say you and Angeli grew up throwing at each other at camps and all that stuff. Oh, yeah, that's my boy. I know him. It's still a little dicey to come back when your coach is like, oh, he ain't no Jeremiah Smith. He ain't making that no $2 million, whatever the case may be, and he worried about the wrong thing. Again, Fran might have put his foot in his mouth with that one because, again, there's always the option to be that crystal ball politician that you talked about where it's like, he's a great player. We wish him the best. We're very sad that we couldn't retain him. If he wants to come back, the option's here, but more power to him.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about a possible landing spot for Pena when we come back because he had a really good visit to Penn State over the weekend. He may not be done taking visits. I mean, Miami and Texas Tech have been teams that have been talked about being in the mix for him, but it sounds like Penn State spot was a hit for him. And also, we'll stay with the quarterback theme because North Carolina, they're taking a shot at one of the most interesting quarterbacks in the transfer portal. You remember the guy who's suing Billy Napier for rug pulling his NIL deal coming out of high school when he initially signed with the Gators. And Jaden Rashada is the quarterback we're talking about, is very well traveled heading into his third year. And North Carolina seems to be an option for him. You want to keep it locked right here. Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack, Alex Dano from Locked On Canes. We're only getting started on Locked On ACC. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone do an incredible job covering all things NC State at Locked On Wolfpack. I host Locked On Canes, talking all things Miami. All right, so Kenton, there's a Miami connection to Jaden Rashada. So let's recount the timeline. One of the top class of 2023 quarterback recruits, was an Elite 11 finalist in his final year of high school. He initially committed to the Miami Hurricanes for what was allegedly a pretty big NIL deal, right? Then he gets the offer from Florida for a $12 million plus NIL deal, flips to Florida, but oh wait, Florida apparently didn't really want to pay him the 12 plus million. There was a renegotiation, what I refer to as a rug pull. He did sign with Florida, but then, the NIL dispute caused him to ask for a dismissal from his letter of intent, which he got. So he never played for Florida, never played for Miami. He enrolls at Arizona State, and he got some starts under his belt as a true freshman there. 44 for 82, 485 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. After the 1 year at Arizona State, he decides to transfer to Georgia, which we were both kind of puzzled about, right? Because it's like, I don't know if he really thought he was going to go to Georgia and become their starting quarterback. Didn't get anywhere close to that. Didn't put up any stats 2024 at Georgia, was too far down the bench to get in any games. Transfers out of Georgia. He's still looking for a home, Rashada. And North Carolina is hosting Jaden Rashada. And transfer portal rankings, Kenton, are very weird because somehow Rashada is the top rated quarterback in the transfer portal right now, which is very odd given the experience or lack thereof. And remember, the Tar Heels already added Gio Lopez, who was an accomplished guy at the G5 level at South Alabama. He seems to be the front runner to be their starter, but they lost another quarterback in the portal, Ryan Brown, last week, so they need numbers there. And I don't know, do you think maybe the risk might be worth the reward to go get a guy like Rashada, who's really talented coming out of high school?
All right, here's the thing. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to start being honest about the Tar Heels because they're in the ACC too. And I have to be nice to them. I have to be fair to them. Stop getting so much sizzle. You need some damn steak. At this point in time, y'all are spraying the fajita spray that they have at like Chili's and all that on this tiny little steak, this little 2-ounce steak. The type of steak that they put in the middle of a plate, throw a couple vegetables on it, throw a puree, and charge you $85 for it. That's what's going on right here. That's what's going on. Stop it. Gio is your guy. Don't waste no NIL money on Jaden Rashada. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And I know you're going to think there are going to be people who say, well, why not have somebody who can compete with Gio? And why not? You're always one play away from being down a quarterback. I mean this very genuinely. Jaden Rashada ain't stayed nowhere for longer than 8 months.
Yeah, he's looking for his third actual team in 3 years. He's been, committed to 5 different teams since high school. There's been a lot of movement there.
What else is there to say? Dono, you said he's been committed to 5 teams. How many touchdowns has he thrown in his career?
4.
Huh. So that kid's got more touchdowns. I'm sorry, more teams committed to than touchdowns. Has he been injured, Dono? Has he been hurt? Has he been banged up? Has he torn his ACL, Achilles, his shoulder, pop out the socket? What's going on?
And then nothing that serious. I think he had something, I think, and he got a lot of starts at Arizona State as a true freshman. Obviously didn't put up huge numbers, but I think he did have an injury that year. I just think last year he didn't play.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I did hear that he had a pretty bad case of Gitcho. So I'll give him that. And for those of you who don't know, Gitcho means get your ass back. That's what the coaches say when players who are not close to being in the 2 deep actually get in the game. The coach says, "Man, get your ass back." Because
well, to be fair, he's got more of an injury history than I remembered. So he suffered a knee injury the true freshman year at Arizona State, which sidelined him for part of that season. He had an off-season thumb surgery, which I think led up to him getting to Georgia. But, do with that information what you will. But he did have some injuries.
Listen, here's the thing. Too many schools in too short of a frame. And I will even give you Florida, I'll give it to you for free. I'll give you that pass. I'll give you. When you realize that Florida was rug pulling you, why did you not go somewhere you could play? Oh, wait, you did, right? You go to Arizona State. You play there. What has Arizona State done at quarterback before Sam Levitt? Because mind you, he was gone before Sam got there. Am I correct or am I incorrect? Right.
You're correct.
So what was Arizona State doing at quarterback at that time where you like, hey, I can't compete. I got to go. I got to skedaddle. Yeah. So at this point, again, UNC add some steak. You got the sizzle. Bill Belichick is all the sizzle you'll need. His 24-year-old old lady, all the sizzle you'll need. All the sizzle you'll possibly need. Lombardi, you got the Lombardi name, the name that the championship trophy in the NFL is named after. You got one of his descendants in your building. Well, I believe he is a direct descendant of Vince, correct? He is the grandson,
I'm going to fact check that. Hold on.
I believe he's the grandson, but either way you cut or slice it, you've got all the sizzle.
No, he's not. He's not. I looked it up. The first Google result was no, Michael Lombardi is not related to Vince Lombardi.
Apologies. My bad. This one I was actually wrong. Unlike the plumber thing, I didn't actually think the plumbers are related. But in all seriousness, man, go get yourself some steak. Go get yourself. Don't waste your money on a backup quarterback. Go get you some offensive linemen so you're less likely to need a backup quarterback. Go get you some defensive linemen because Bo Atkinson is gone. Or spend enough money to get Bo back because he's a good edge rusher. Say what you want about the kid. He's a good edge rusher. Don't waste your money on Jaden Rashada, with all due respect.
All right, so here's we talked a little bit about Trevor Pena last week, who was Syracuse's leader in receptions, the 84 leader in touchdowns with 9. He was second on the team in receiving, just a little short of 1,000 yards. He had his whole dispute with Fran Brown. Brown told him you got to go, right, when he was allegedly asking for a much bigger NIL deal. Trevor Pena had what was described as a really productive visit to the Penn State Nittany Lions over the weekend. And, according to Penn State insiders, because everyone wants to know this, they say, no, he's absolutely not asking for $2 million, not anywhere near it, no crazy NIL demands or anything. He hasn't committed to Penn State, at least not as of yet. That seems to be a school that could be trending for him, though. So listen, as much as we can poke fun of Drew Aller, I still, I would probably take my chances with Drew Aller and Penn State over Syracuse and potentially Ricky Collins and the rest of that team around me this year. So I think Penn State could be a good landing spot for Pena. And if Pena ends up there, Kenton, you could say, hey, that's not about the bag. Not about the bag, because Penn State is not known as a team that's a big spender in NIL, right? I mean, even within their own conference, Ohio State, USC, Michigan at times, Michigan, big NIL spenders. Penn State is not that. So I don't know. Maybe
Oregon can spend some money. They're in the Big Ten now. Oregon can spend now. They spend with the best of them.
Yeah, Penn State is closer to like Minnesota NIL than they are to Oregon and USC NIL. No, if nothing else, if Pena ends up at Penn State, he could say, hey, see, Fran, I wasn't chasing the bag after all.
Here's the thing. They're objectively, like we talked about earlier, I don't think it's the player's responsibility to worry about that from a team standpoint, but from a player's and from a player's individual branding, an individual like, hey, I'm doing the best I can to set myself up in the future standpoint. It absolutely should be something you look at in terms of what's the team around me. If you go back to Syracuse, you're going to be the guy. Everybody's going to be looking at you all the time. Hey, where's Pena? Where's the scouting report is going to say, Pena, stop him. That's what the scouting report is going to say at Syracuse. You know what I know it's not going to say at Penn State? They got 2 running backs that are probably going to be gone within the first 90 picks of next year's draft.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, like they've got dudes over there to where you're not going to be the entire game. So I get it. I'm not – listen, regardless of how much he asked for, I mean, to me, at the end of the day, he left for his reasons. He left. You know, this ain't like a ex-girlfriend that you've been with for forever where people are like, why did she leave? And you got to give the reason. It ain't that. Fran Brown didn't need to state, oh, man, I ain't paying no receiver $2 million and all that. Like I said, if there are times where you need to be real and raw and uncut and uncensored, and it's endearing and it's good. There are times where reel it back in, you know, and I get it. There are lots of people who are like, I am who I am, and I'm going to die by that. I live by it, and you love me for it, so you can't hate me for it when it goes wrong. But it's kind of like, dude, absolutes only exist for babies and fools. As grown men, we sometimes need to realize the thing that works for us well 90% of the time, there's a 10% where it's like, actually, I don't need to do that. I don't need to say that. I don't need to be that.
Yeah, that's well said. All right, and we do notice that for some players it's working and they stay where they're at. Other players not so much. Using the transfer portal as a negotiating tactic. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. The only ticket app that Kenton and I use is Gametime, and there are countless reasons for that. Guys, I love the features on the Gametime app, including the all-in pricing, where they're not going to slap on those hidden fees at the end, panoramic view from my seat in the app before I buy. But guys, the prices, which get lower the closer you get to the event, you're not going to find better deals than on the Gametime app. And there's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in that arena. And with Gametime, you can be part of it without the stress that normally comes with last-minute ticket buying. Because, guys, prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NFL Draft for your next listen. We're almost there. I mean, we're 3 days away from the NFL draft. I'll be, sipping champagne, watching my dude Cam Ward get taken #1 overall. I probably won't really be sipping champagne. Actually, maybe I will be. I don't know. I'm really happy for Ward if this comes to fruition. But make sure you check out Locked On NFL Draft, available free wherever you get your podcasts, and available free on YouTube. So, yeah, Kenton, we talked a lot a couple weeks ago about Nico Malayava and his, trying to renegotiate with the Tennessee Volunteers. Got shot down by Josh Heupel, basically kicked him off the team. Nico ends up at UCLA, probably not nearly for the amount of money he was asking at Tennessee. Trevor Pena situation, which Fran Brown said, I told him he's got to go after the NIL renegotiations. We also, though, over the last couple of days, an excellent defensive tackle, was excellent coming out of high school anyway, David Stone at Oklahoma. Apparently Oklahoma actually tried to reduce his NIL deal after his true freshman season. He ended up hitting the portal, but they renegotiated. He took his name out of the portal and decided to stay with the Sooners. So we've had, certain players apparently have success using the portal as leverage to renegotiate, others not so much. But it's interesting, Kenton, how, as you brought up to me time and time again, Nico gets villainized. Other players who, maybe not at the same dollar levels, try to renegotiate, maybe don't get villainized the same way Nico does.
Did I not tell you? I'm not saying that I'm always right, but I'm right more than I am wrong.
You're right more than a broken clock.
I'm trying to tell you all, these coaches don't give a rat's behind about all of these platitudes that they claim to stand on with Nico. All of a sudden, I saw some of the same coaches, some of the same fan bases, some of the same people who were screaming Tennessee did the right thing, clamoring for Stone. Oh, I need me some Stone in my life. Oh, we got to get him on campus. We just come on and visit. That young man got a cup of coffee.
I did an episode on Locked on Canes where I spent 12 and a half minutes begging him to come to Miami. And then I had to do a retraction 2 days later.
Quick question, Dono. Your coach said if you're going to play holdout, you might as well do what?
Get out.
Get out.
But here's hold on though. David Stone did not hold out. He completed spring with Nico. Like Nico actually held out of a spring practice. I don't think it's the same thing because David Stone went through the full spring. I don't think the holdout is the problem. I don't think the holdout is the problem at all. If you're going to tell me that the integrity of finishing out one more practice is the difference between whether you want to play or not, and I get it. People are going to say, well, it's about the integrity that it took to finish out that one practice when you knew you were getting in the portal. Let's be very real about this. If some of these same players were sitting out, it would still be the same. The problem with Nico is, again, opportunity and price. If his price was similar to Stone's price, I guarantee you schools would be tripping and falling over themselves. Nico, you on the market? Hey, man, I don't care about none of that holdout stuff that you had going on over there. They wasn't paying you right. They wasn't treating you right over there in Old Rocky Top. We gonna take care of you. The reality is Pena will not be villainized. Stone will not be villainized. None of these other players will be villainized. Yes, it is in part. I will give it partially because they finished out spring. Absolutely. I will say the actual act of holding out, sure, that's something that people view poorly. But also, Nico's price was simply too high. He was making 1% of 1% money in terms of college football, but he was not playing like a 1% of 1% player. And so you can't, those two things don't, because you still would have made 1% of 1% money if you would have just stayed hotel in Knoxville. You still would have made it, even with playing as underperforming. Stone, some people said he underperformed. But guess what? His price is so low, it's not a big deal. And nobody would say he underperformed, but Fran Brown said that he got a hell of a price tag on him. And schools are still, hey man, don't worry about what they got going on. They got too many taxes in New York anyway. Okay, it's too expensive to do anything in New York. Come on down to us. Come on down to Florida. We barely got taxes, man, just barely. Come on down to Happy Valley, So I'm just saying. Yeah, I mean, I know, like Florida, like I live in Florida. There's no state income tax, which is great, but Uncle Sam still found me with those federal taxes. I was not happy about my tab earlier this month. Uncle
Sam always gonna take $1,000 out the bag. He always gonna do that. Uncle Sam, hey, give me what I got. Give me my gots, and I'm gonna go on by my way. That's what Uncle Sam always gonna do. But in all seriousness, these players, they're gonna go, they're gonna move, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. It's the new nature of the game. And for coaches pretending to stand on these platitudes, I don't want guys who transfer. I don't want guys who go other places. I don't want guys who are looking for different opportunities. You're a liar. You're a liar, right? And we could say, well, it's not the same looking for a new opportunity as opposed to holding out, but we are seeing players in real time who are not actively holding out, but they're in contract disputes with their current school, and people are still going to bang their line. Hey, talk to me. Come on and talk to me. Let me talk to you. Let me hear something. Let me tell you, let me drop a good bug in your ear about why you need to be at my school.
Why are you wearing a raincoat, by the way?
Oh man, it actually was raining earlier today, so I just never. I just never had the time to take it off. And
you look like you're about to do a hit on the Weather Channel, like right after we finish up Locked On ACC. You're going outside to do a live reaction from rainy North Carolina.
It's raining buckets in Chapel Hill as they're paying Jaden Rashada hundreds of thousands of dollars to come on and be a third-string quarterback before he transfers to his fourth school in 4 years.
That's amazing. Well, I have a great time with Kenton Gibbs every time we can get together here on Locked On ACC. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see. Visit for Jaden Rashada at North Carolina. Visit for Steve Angeli at Syracuse. We'll see if these quarterback moves come to fruition, and we'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.